Welcome to another episode of the Offer Letter Candidate Spotlight, the podcast where job seekers get the space to talk about their own experience, their skills, and their own careers in their own voice. Today, I'm joined with Austin Jones. Austin, thanks for joining me today.
No problem, Brian. Thanks for having me.
And Austin, for everybody hearing your name for the first time, can you give them a little bit of background of who you are, what you do, and the problems you solve?
Sure. Austin Jones. I've been in IT, I want to say about 16, maybe 17 years. For the past 7, maybe 8 years, my profession has been primarily in the actual cloud space. That's Google Cloud, AWS, Amazon Web Service, as well as Microsoft Azure. Certified on at least 4 levels on GCP, 3 on AWS, 2 on Azure. Now I'm in the AI space, currently a cloud AI consultant, to where what I'm doing now is just helping small businesses go ahead and basically, in a nutshell, bridging the gap between humans and AI. So anything where it comes to creating chatbots, AI voice agents, or utilizing any kind of tools to go ahead and make a small business better and grow, that's what I'm basically doing. And most recently, I'm giving back to those who want to go ahead and get into the IT space, because a lot of my friends, they see what I've done. At one point, I worked 5 jobs at the same time, 5 remote jobs. And, a lot of my friends, they saw that and they wanted to be a part of that. And they asked me how. So now I started my school community showing people how to leverage AI to go ahead and get into the actual IT space. And then from there, leverage AI to start a business, fix your credit, and anything under the sun, but using AI now.
That's really cool. I didn't actually see that part when I was prepping for this call.
Guys.
Yeah, no, it's actually really interesting and kind of an area that is really interesting.
Yep.
Let's just quickly talk about the small business side. You're local to Florida. Are you working with mostly Florida-based companies? If people are interested in learning more, kind of how do they get a hold of you in that space, and what kind of small businesses are you working with?
Small businesses, anything like a real estate agent, or let's just first start easy. Anyone who has a receptionist. Not saying that we're going to take their jobs, but those kind of roles that are tedious. And because I've worked in tech for so long, my mind automatically thinks automation, automation, automation. So, what can we go ahead and automate? Those are the types of roles that are going to be challenged in this particular space. So, those are the type of businesses that I primarily target: med spas,
Mhm.
doctors' offices, dental offices, plumbers, HVAC companies, all of those people who actually like work for themselves or have their own independent companies and small businesses. Those are the people that I primarily target, because they don't have the big money like all these other companies to go to invest into Anthropic or Google or anything like that. I could go ahead and offer them before they go ahead and hire. I can go ahead and pitch to them and say, hey, instead of hiring someone, I could create a system to where it answers the phone, it books your appointments, it posts on your social media, anything basically that you primarily will have your receptionist go ahead and do. I could go ahead and offer you that 24/7 for a fraction of the actual price.
Yeah, and let's just talk about the skilled trades as well, right?
Mhm.
Because if you're working with anybody in the skilled trades, they're living out of a vehicle consistently, right?
Yep.
And so they could be like, we had a new furnace put into our house, I think it was last year, and
Yeah.
that person had to plan on being at the next site. And then what if this runs long? What if, how do I schedule who's going to be the closest person to my current site, right? And so those are things that are really interesting. And I think with the new technology that's coming in, especially like with AI, how do you optimize time as well and your resources for individuals too?
The way that I go ahead and optimize the actual time, the way that the process works is I would analyze what the actual client, I will have a meeting like this, and then we will go ahead and speak about some of their pain points. And then I will come up with a roadmap as to how I could go ahead and fix their particular issue using those particular systems. So if it's something like I'm losing time, and for every HVAC company or AC unit, for every call that's missed, a lot of these clients, they're losing money.
Mhm.
So while they're fixing something like a roofer, while he's on the roof, someone could be calling, and he's putting himself at danger when he's trying to answer that call and do the booking, or I'll call you back. And us as consumers, we'll just go into someone else who has time to go in and book our call, you know. But with the actual agent, it answers the phone, it does the actual booking, and it does the actual follow-up with the actual client. So nothing is missed, you know? So they love that part.
Yeah, and it's an amazing opportunity for people just for like you said, like we'll just move on to the next person, right? I couldn't
Right.
tell you how many people that we called and they missed that. We just never heard back, and we just kept until somebody would come in.
Yep.
So it's a really interesting business model and different people that you're trying to help as well. So I'll make sure that we include some information for everybody listening if they are interested in
Absolutely. Absolutely.
getting some consulting advice from you as well. But you didn't this isn't the only thing that you've done. You've worked at very large,
Yep.
complex companies in the past. You've worked at places like Dell,
Yep.
Spirit. So how did that experience shape your approach in the infrastructure space today?
Man, it goes way back to my experience working at Citrix. At Citrix, they had something like at the Apple Center, if you would go to the actual visit the Apple Bar, at Citrus, they had something like the Apple Bar to where you would bring your actual issues, your laptop, and it would be face to face. And at the time, I really didn't understand it because it's almost like okay, one issue after the other, and it could be bombarding. But a lot of my friends were telling me like, how do you do this so naturally? Because I was able to literally point at a VP or point at someone else and remember, okay, this is what you need to go to do for your issue. This is what you need to do for your issue. This is what you need to do for your issue, and literally get them out of there in like 5 seconds and still be able to remember to document all of those particular tickets. So I really can't explain it, but I know that was part of, what God had me to go ahead and do to up until now to prepare me for these type of positions and roles and what I'm doing right now. It's really complex and hard, but it's not for the weak.
Yeah, and just having that memory for it being able to remember those minute details of
Yeah,
everything is insane. Because 'cause I'm an individual who has to document everything,
right.
right? I cannot remember every little nuance like some people who have the memory and the capabilities for that. So, what did those type of environments, though, teach you about reliability and scale?
Oh, man, reliability. When it comes to reliability, everything I kind of hate that word because in tech, reliability, compliance. It's you always want to, especially now, especially with the AI wave that we're in right now. Reliability is a big part. Reliability and compliance is a big part. And every company wants to go ahead and grow, which is scaling. How
Yeah.
do we do that? In order to do that, you have to have the right SOPs in place, standard operating procedures, and you have to have the right systems in place. And I watch a lot of YouTube to where what's one of my favorite channels is School of Hard Knocks with
Yeah.
James. And he goes and he asks all the millionaires and the billionaires, how did you become rich and things of that. And it really makes sense. You have to have systems, also the right people, and you have to do people right. A lot of the business of what I found in some of the places that I've worked was that the actual owner, another show is Undercover Boss too, because it dives into the person who you really are. We never really pay attention to the little guy, the people that are actually at the bottom that are doing the work. They get overlooked. So shows like Undercover Boss and looking at things like School of Hard Knocks, it actually aligns with my purpose because I feel as though I always was overlooked in the actual tech field and I had to work 10 times harder, always stay on my certification skill, work harder than, others, other people in my group. And I still felt like I was always overlooked because at some point I felt as though, you know, my managers, they felt as though I wasn't competent enough because I wasn't acting a certain way or I didn't look a certain way. And that was really challenging in a sense, at sometimes. But I gave it the best that I could, and some of those roles it ended, but I never gave up because I did develop the what's it the syndrome? What was it? I forgot what it is, but I forgot that I actually developed to where it's like I thought that I couldn't do it and I wasn't good enough a lot of time.
Imposter syndrome?
Imposter syndrome, and I still remember one of my old bosses, and my son, one of my first sons, I have 5 kids, by the way. One of my first sons was about to be pregnant, and the manager told me I'll never make it in IT. This was early on. So I started thinking that I wasn't good enough, or maybe I shouldn't be doing this, you know? But like every other job I was getting was better than the last job, and I would learn more and more and more skills. So I was like, it has to be my calling because I don't know anything else. So I started learning code. I learned how to code by myself, just literally watching YouTube. I learned Python, I learned PowerShell. And when I was at Citrix working on one of the teams, I remember saying, I want to make 6 figures. And this is when Snapchat first came out. And I said, I wanted to make 6 figures. And after that, I got a call from Ultimate Software. Ultimate Software is UKG,
Yep.
but when there were Ultimate Software, I got a call from them. Now I'm making 6 figures, and it was crazy. But now it's like 6 figures is the new $20. It's crazy. But that was one of my goals, and I wanted to go ahead and do whatever it took. And at the same time, I saw that the world was shifting because we started engaging things like the cloud, and we had a virtualization team. So I wanted to go ahead and get on the virtualization team, because I see these guys riding bicycles, I'm at motorcycles, they're making money and they're chilling. And my team, we're doing all the hard work, researching, interacting with clients and stuff like that. I'm like, I want to get on their team. And I'll never forget one of the guys, he told me, one of the VPs over the team, he said, you don't use your resources. And I'm like, well, what do you mean? I have all the tools, to go ahead and get ahead. What do you mean? He said, think about it. I'm your resource. Other people that are on my team are your resources. Other VPs, you're not asking them the right questions. Use them. Use your time wisely. So what I used to do, I used to take my lunch break and sit with his team and actually go in and see the kind of issues that they were having on their team. And I would bring it back to my team. So instead of escalating it, my team will know to go to come to me because I'm working with this team. Or some issues, they were going to give me access so I could go in and solve it instead of escalating. So now I'm helping them out and I'm gaining more knowledge. So then it grows and it just carries. And that's one of the traits that I actually carry overall, and that's just how I am.
Yeah, and I mean, sitting with the team during your lunch hours, yes, it might be only an hour a day, right? Span that over a 5-day work week, there's five
Right,
hours. But it's just the small things that you learned on how they do. It might not be the technical, like, right, you know Python, right? Great. But like, how are they applying
right,
what they know in coding
right.
into whatever they're building, right? Or what are the small things that you're not even thinking about, right? I think that was like, I think about early on in my career as well. If I would have been in a remote environment, I would have failed early on in my
Yes,
career. And I know that for certain. I just don't have that going out there. And I just needed to always be next to somebody who I could learn from
right.
and learn, right? And so that that mentoree relationship is really important for a lot of people. And especially as this environment is changing almost daily, I feel like at this moment.
Yeah, minutes. They're gonna drop something tonight, I'm sure.
We'll have to talk about that in a couple months then, and just talk about all the
It's
differences that
crazy.
have come over the months. But let's talk about this because you have a BS degree in computer science,
Yep.
right? So you've like that's not an easy degree
No,
to
no, no.
get. All the math that goes into it. I mean, I'm an individual, and I only took stats through college. I was a liberal arts major.
Yeah, yeah,
Like you're in calculus, you're doing all the math credits, you're learning programming. It's crazy to me to think that somebody comes to you and says you'll never make it in IT, but
yeah,
yet you, you have the fundamentals
yeah,
of making a great engineer.
yeah. I mean, to be honest, I think like I said, it goes back to what I was saying, the mistreatment. Some people can have those technical skills, but they don't
Yeah,
have people skills. You could teach them the technical part of the job, and that's what I've learned inside of working with tech. Some people are so tech driven, they forget about, people are still people, you
yeah,
know? People have feelings. You have to be able to be empathetic, with people and people's situation. That's why now later on down the line, we determined a lot of the stuff, phrases like burnout and mental health, because it's a real thing,
yeah.
and in tech world, people used to think, oh, all you guys do is sit in front of a computer all day, not knowing we're solving some of the world's biggest issues, you know, and it takes brain power. So if you're in a bad environment at home and you bring that to work, and now you got to think about home, work, you're gonna crash out. It's not gonna work. And then you got a boss that's literally on your behind all day, every day about stuff, and he's just an a-hole. And you're like, yo, I've seen people cry. I've seen people go at it's a lot. It's not for the weak, you know, but you just like they tell you, you have to have tough skin and be able to understand that, you know, especially now, it's not gonna be forever. If this is gonna be your end all be all, this is what you're gonna have to deal with. But what's initially your goal at the end of that tunnel for yourself? You know, do you want to work here for the rest of your life? And I always knew when I went into any job, I knew I didn't want to work there and give these people my whole entire life. I knew I wanted to be a boss one day, but I just didn't know how. And working at all these different jobs, going through these different trials and tribulations, it prepared me for my Mr. C's AI company and what I'm doing. So I'm just learning a lot of different things, like watching the actual School of Hard Knocks as what these business owners are doing, taking these different courses and, you know, wanting to go ahead and help and not harm the people that I'm working with, and also wanting to grow and just build different relationships like me and you're doing. That's
Yeah.
fun, you know?
So let's talk about some of the environments that you were at. You worked at companies like Comcast, you
Yep.
were at Kroger, and you were at Worldwide Technologies. These systems serve millions of people
Yeah.
and have a massive amount of data as well. So, what changes when you're working on building a cloud platform for that large of a scale?
Uh, I would have to say it's just the compliance and the processes. That's really it. They're all the same. Google Cloud is what compute engines for virtual machines. Microsoft is just VMs, and then the EC2 instance is the same thing. It's just and I learned that skill when I worked 5 jobs at one time. It enhanced me as well because I'm like, okay, I see how Kroger is doing it. I see how this hospital's doing it. I see how is doing it. They're all doing it their own way. They all have different processes about getting to the end of the actual deployment, but it's relatively the same. It's just what tools they're actually using. And I found that they would find a common tool across the board, which would be Terraform, you know, across the board. So you're using the same Terraform module, you're just changing the actual module contents, whether it be we're going to be using uh, the region of whatever region, East US2, or we're going to go ahead and use this particular region. Is it going to be a web application, a mobile application? All of that is confined into that Terraform module using the standard GitHub repo, and then doing that merge request and then just implementing it to the cloud. It's the same, just different processes.
You make it seem so simple for somebody who, like myself, does not have a technical background.
No, man, it's and and I probably could teach you, bro. Just I'm telling you, and especially now, oh man, it's so easy. It's so easy now with Chat GPT. Once ChatGPT came out, I literally started using ChatGPT on the job. People don't know still now how to use ChatGPT. I got buddies that want to come call me on the phone. Hey man, I want to come and sit with you to go ahead and use this ChatGPT and get some ideas out. It's the best at writing. ChatGPT is a good writer. Then you got Gemini that's good for like pictures or Canva. Then you have for automation, there's other tools like
Yeah.
Make.com, NAN, but you just have to know what to use and when. In the tech field, you can use Chat GPT or DeepSeek or Claude or Copilot, copy your work, copy your email address, copy your email that your boss sent you. Say, he might say, hey, Brian, I want you to go to create me 10 clusters for this, this, and this, and this, and this. You never created a cluster before. And by the way, the ticket go ahead and describes everything that you need to do. Screenshot the ticket, copy that email, paste it into Chat GPT. Hey, I never did this before. This is what you're typing in Chat GPT. I never did this before, but I want to look like a superstar to my boss. Tell me exactly what I need to go ahead and do step by step by step. Don't sugarcoat it, and tell me what I need to go ahead and send to my boss. It's going to tell you step by step by step by step by step and give you a perfect email to your boss. You read over the email, send it back to your boss, send him a PDF of the steps that you just took in order to go ahead and create this new cluster, and you apply this particular cluster. So now you're learning on the job. You don't know that.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? But now that just saved you another week. Now you're getting paid your 6 figures still. And then you
One of the other things I will take on and take it one step further, go and ask any of these models, what's an issue I'm not thinking of that might arise as well, right? And so you're kind of future proofing exactly what you're looking at. Maybe like I didn't think about, hey,
how could I make this better?
yeah, exactly, right? And so you're also kind of thinking about just the future sake of it, right?
Yep.
I use those platforms a lot to be able to say, this is what I think I need to do. What am I missing? And why
Right,
does this why like
right.
where like find an error in my logic.
Right. And if you find any kind of error, tell me exactly what it is.
Yeah.
And then I could go ahead and explain it to my manager so I could look like the superhero. And now you're adding value and you're fixing the issue. Again, you might get a bonus. That's the ultimate cheat code. Like you have to embrace these tools that we have now. AI is not going to go ahead and go away or it's going to take your job. It's going to go ahead and enhance the person that you are. It's going to make life a little bit easier, you know? And I discovered that a long time ago. So now I'm able to go ahead and work. I still work 2 jobs right now. Like literally. I work for the CDC and I have a contracting job. On top of I have my own company, school community, still teaching others. Like I'm going crazy out here. You know what I've started the other day? I started a YouTube channel where I'm making a cartoon series, and I use AI to make the intro song, make the character. I have ChatGPT making the actual story for me. I'm gonna edit it out, and then I'm gonna go ahead and make a series. So it's gonna be like one of those drama series that's like on TV that people watch, but it's gonna be on YouTube. So I'm just gonna put it out there, and everything is just gonna add up over time.
That's really cool. I mean, animation is so hard to begin with,
Yeah.
right? And so to be able to use technology and help grow it's pretty sweet.
Yep. I'm telling you, bro, we gotta use it, you know?
And I agree. I mean, these tools are coming out, right? They're getting better
Yep.
every upgrade, every iteration is just getting better. If you remember, what was it, 2021 when OpenAI came out with
Right.
ChatGPT and how basic it was at that point, right? In sense, we considered it basic.
Right.
But now, 4 years later, almost 5 years later,
It's going crazy. Images,
yeah,
videos, spreadsheets, prompts, like it's going crazy.
let's talk a little bit in what we can about some of the stuff that you're doing with the DoD right now. So it's a completely different kind of animal than what you've been at before. You've been at large enterprise companies. Now you're working on a different level of security,
Mhm.
compliance, and accountability. How does that environment differ from what you were doing in an enterprise system or enterprise company?
It's just more rules and regulations. Working for the government, they're all in your business. I have a top secret clearance. So before I even received that, they had to go and ask me different questions about my background. They dug deep. You ever been arrested? Even if it's down to driving while license suspended, they want to know. So, and then once you get into the actual role itself, and working on that particular kind of environment because it was a blend, it was a multi-cloud environment that I had to build from scratch. So what I'm building is going to be for the entire Department of Defense. So I have
Oh
to be
wow.
able to implement security, talk to stakeholders. I had to sit in so many different meetings with Google, Amazon, all of the actual stakeholders because I had to look at what they currently have, actually go ahead and make sure that it's within their budget, and then go ahead and map it out, draw it, and show them how it's going to go and look, and then implement it. So it was a lot, and then apply the actual security on that, make sure that it's up and running, you know, and then fix the bugs. So a lot of that, it was kind of scary because, like I said, the government is so strict, and the DoD is so strict to where they have a restricted side and an unrestricted side. Both of them is very secure. The restricted is more so for like captains and people that are like top rank or whatnot. But the unrestricted is people that are just like everyday, you know, DoD employees like me and you know, but still top flight security. And your badge will go ahead and tell you and determine what type of level of access you would have. I was, I think, rank number 3. So it's 5 ranks. So I was kind of up there, you know. I was a senior, but I didn't have access to 4 or 5, you know. And if you do anything wrong within the DoD, you literally could get walked out. It's just
That's
it's that deep. As soon as you walk in, they have to wear the metal detectors. You have to walk through the metal
mm.
detectors. No smart glasses, no earbuds, no cell phones. You got to put it in the cubby. That's how secure it is. You think you're walking into preschool, but no. That's why you're supposed to put the little things.
So, like all the TV shows where you have to go put it in a locker,
Yeah,
walk through security, it's
yeah.
all kind of the way that that environment is.
Because you're on military base. You're on military base. And I think this was around, I think Florida, we had 2 hurricanes that came that year too as well. So it was kind of crazy. And we had to go ahead and work from home because they were using the base to go ahead and house people there at the actual base. So you would see army people, in uniform and, everything was there. Just it's a real base.
So, what misconceptions do people have about the cloud environment within a federal government or even within the DoD?
Working on the cloud gov, a lot of times people really just don't understand it. They think it's just the same as just working on like any other kind of cloud, with just bells and whistles. It's really not the same. It's a lot more compliance and restrictions and things that need to be taken into consideration.
For me, I would imagine again, just imagining government computers running off a DOS still.
Yeah, Jesus, they're so they're so behind. And the reason they're so behind is really because I mean some applications they really don't want to go ahead and they're like hoarders of certain applications. They don't want to upgrade in certain applications. They need to go ahead and have work on premise instead of upgrading and pushing it over to the actual cloud. That was the reason why I had to go ahead and leave some of it on Microsoft and then push the other half to AWS because some of the legacy programs were Microsoft programs, which only makes sense to go ahead and deal with a Microsoft server or whatnot or a Microsoft cloud. We didn't want to go ahead and make things too complex, and then it'll be a shit show.
Yeah, I can only imagine, right? Like, and
Yeah,
I'm pretty certain the federal government is also the largest employer in the country as well.
yeah,
So the amount of people that use these platforms on a day to day is massive as well.
yep, it's crazy.
So across all of these employers that you've had, you've worked for airlines, you worked for retail, you worked for the
Yeah.
government, you've worked on hands-on AWS, Azure. From experience, when does multi-cloud actually add value to an organization?
If you want to go ahead and, like I was saying, especially like with the DoD, it adds value when those clients they want to go to remain on premise or certain applications want to go from Microsoft to Microsoft. Like I was saying before, the actual DoD, some of the actual applications, the legacy applications, they wanted to go ahead and keep on that particular Microsoft. They wanted to go Microsoft to Microsoft. So it only made
Mhm.
sense. But I mean, that would be the only benefit there. I mean, in some instances, you might say speed or complexity, but it's really all the same, to be honest. Really all the same. It's all the same. Don't let nobody fool you. It's the same.
All right, let's see if we can try to rattle you a little bit. You've seen some cool collective in through all of these. So you built CI/CD pipelines and infrastructure
Yep.
where in environments where mistakes are expensive. What does good DevOps look like to you?
Uh, Basically processes and procedures, documentation, and good documentations. Because I hate going after someone and looking at their ticket and it's really not enough information in there. And I still have to go ahead and aggravate the actual client by asking them the same questions that could have been asked or documented the first time. So good best practices like that, it's makes it easier for the other person or anyone else coming behind it or that particular organization. And always updating documents that after you work on them because they change over time. So sometimes you do have to go back in and update a normal document, within that you probably worked on or whatnot, because this process might have changed or the way to fix this has, do you change. Good documentation is really like the communication between the actual DevOps world or tech in whole.
So what does good documentation look like? Are you looking for the who, what, where, whens, or kind of what? Like,
The who,
walk us
what,
through
where,
that.
wins, what took place, who did you speak to? Basically, kind of tell a story, but don't give me too much of the actual story. Don't go rattling on. Give me the bare minimum. Give me the meat of what really took place, and especially if it's an escalation, I need to know who you talk to. What's the actual escalation number? If there is a ticket number to that particular escalation, Who did you email it to? So I know exactly who I need to follow up with to go in and get the right answers for my client.
And so, what can you say is one decision that you've made that has saved teams a long term pain? Does that make sense?
I would definitely have to say a lot of my scripts that I've written, a lot of my automation scripts that I've written, I would go in, I would look at some of the actual issues that we would have, and I would automate it, meaning I would go ahead and write a Python or a PowerShell, or even now I would include something that's AI related to where it's saving us time. So we don't have to do this every single week, like sending out different reports. In tech, we have to send out so many different types of reports, or there's so many different types of tickets that are open to where it's like, okay, why don't we just create a workflow to where if these are the only type of tickets that we're getting, let's go ahead and create a workflow and have the customer fill out a form. And then that's the first part of the actual trigger. And then from there, it would go and then the customer will fill out all the information. Then we'll go to the appropriate group, if you will. And then it assigns somebody in that group that particular ticket. We don't have all this, just organization and structure is really all it is, bro. That's it.
And I mean, that's just such a simple thing though to do as well, right? Just to
Mhm.
that simple. If somebody gets a ticket and it gets assigned to them, right? There shouldn't have to be a manual process of doing it.
Right.
It doesn't have to be like an admin going in there and like what we were kind of talking about at the beginning of the conversation, right? Like
Right.
there should be like, hey, if it's going down this route, this is where it's going to go, or if it's this type of ticket is going down
Exactly.
this route, or this person, and depending on what level it's at, it should be going to like an entry level person or
Right.
a more tenured person that has more experience in that certain right. So
Right.
it's a really simplistic thought process, but we still use this. We still have that administrative burden in day to day life, like you were saying earlier too.
It's
And
it's
so,
gonna be like this for a while until a lot of businesses implement some of the different workflows and clean up the mess that's already
yeah,
created. Because I've worked at a lot of different organizations where, they're in panic mode. They have to deliver something, but it's such a mess. Nobody knows where to start within the code, within the processes. People come and leave the organization all day, every day. So it's like, where do you begin? Because you could have a super tech that was maybe your best tech and he left the company or something
yeah,
happened and now everything that he had access or he knew, someone else has to go and relearn all of that and then relearn the actual process and that takes time, you know? So we have to go ahead and be able to put a system in place to where it actually scans it faster, organizes it, put it into a link or storage place to where everybody can have access to it, and then we know where we need to go ahead and have access to, kind of like a chat bot, a knowledge
yep.
base, to where we access some questions, it talks to us, or it spits out something to where it gives us that particular answer right then and there. That's going to save us time. But it takes time to go ahead and implement these systems into these different organizations because compliance is a big thing. Like I work for hospitals to where compliance is a big thing too. Government, same thing. You have to
Yep.
have rules and regulations in process before you just throw stuff out because they have to go in and talk at the board and say, well, is this worth us spending money or is this saving us money? You got to prove to them that it's really worth even using, you know? Then they implement it and then they go ahead and get it passed down to everyone else at the bottom.
So you kind of set me up perfectly for my next question because you have worked in a lot of different, with a lot of different regulatory bodies and a lot of different compliance. You've worked with SOX 2, you've worked with government regulations. So how do you build a secure system without turning security into a blocker for delivery?
You see exactly what they're using right now, and then you try to go ahead and just have to think asset, 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 and try to follow those guidelines that they have right now and add to that particular. You might need to work with their compliance team to go ahead and have them review whatever you're trying to go ahead and make the changes on, and make sure it stays within those particular guidelines by any means.
Looking across all the roles that you've had, whether it's been some of the mitigation work you've done at Kroger or the platforms at Comcast, what's one project that you're most proud of because of the impact?
I definitely would have to say when I worked at Worldwide Technology, there was something called Google Cloud VMware Engine, and it's nothing but a hybrid cloud, meaning some users or applications want to stay on-prem, and then you still be able to utilize the actual services of Google. So you still could go and use the Stack driver. and the BigQuery and everything else without taking everything to the actual cloud. At the time, there was no one there at Worldwide Technology who knew of how to set up a GCVE virtual private cloud, and I was the only one on a particular project. And what I had to do, I literally had to speak with someone from Google and work with them and literally wing it. There was no information online. No, seriously, there was no information online. There was no chat GPT. So I had to take all the DNS and I was just trying to configure some stuff. I got with the team, got their networking information. I got the VMs that was supposed to be set up. I did the best that I could to go ahead and get it set up. And as I was doing it, I was documenting my journey, if you will. So documenting my journey, I set up the actual vSphere because you need VMware and you had to do it within vSphere. So I set it up within vSphere, and then I created the actual HCX manager, which would complete the actual migration, added the people who needed to go ahead and get added to the actual VPC, virtual private cloud, and then just go ahead and set it up from there. That was a big success, even though I was nervous as hell, but I became SME for a Google Cloud VMware engine for the whole entire company, as well as I taught others how to utilize Google Cloud VMware engine at one of our town hall meetings at WWT. So that made me proud. And I think that was one of my biggest moments there.
So, would you have done anything differently during that process?
No, no. Because now in order for you to learn, you have to break it. You got to get in that. It's just like when we learn to swim. A lot of people don't go and pay, well, like I did. I had to pay someone to teach me how to swim. But a lot of my siblings, they were just thrown in the water. Sometimes it's best you throw in the water and see you're gonna sink or swim. You got to figure it out. And that's literally how I take life. You have to figure it out. It's not gonna be an instructional manual all day, every day. You have to do the best that you can and control what you can control. But at the end of the day, you got to figure it out. Nobody's coming to save you.
Right. And a lot of the early career mistakes that you might have made, or like I would call them mistakes I've made, like
Yeah.
they built me as a better person and a better professional as well. There are definitely times I'm like, would I have done this differently? Probably, but I wouldn't have learned this, this, and this on the way.
Right.
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 And like I would have probably made those mistakes later in life as well if I
Right.
would have tried to change that because I didn't know what I didn't know then.
Yes, sir. Everything
And
is
the
a
one thing that I did just hear again is like the thing that consistently keeps getting brought up in this conversation is documentation, documentation, documentation. Just in that kind of sense, you were just talking about, you documented everything that you were doing through this entire process.
You have to, because you're seeing exactly, you're following along, and as you're visualizing, you're doing it, and you say, okay, I clicked here, I did this, I did this. It's kind of like a checklist,
Yeah.
and you're making sure that everything is done before you're saying, I'm completely done. And once you get to that end, now you could go ahead and hand them a good, successful project.
So you've had a multitude of roles from government to enterprise. What's next for you? What are you looking for?
Oh, man, like I said, Mr. C's AI, that's my baby right now, and I'm just trying to give back and teach people how to leverage AI. If they want to get into tech, they could join my school community. Also, you can follow me on Instagram, Mr. C's AI. Just really help others by utilizing AI. Is so much that we don't know about AI, and I really just want to be that person to go ahead and help as much as I can, business wise, personal wise, whatever it is. I really want to give back. Kind of like what you're doing, man. This is great, man. This is great what you're doing. So, it's gonna reach so many different people. And like it's really from the heart and walking in your purpose. And I believe in just trying to walk into my purpose and using AI. It gives me a chance to go ahead and do that with people that really don't understand it, afraid of it, and don't know anything about it.
Is there anything that we didn't cover that you wanted to make sure we did before we start wrapping it up?
No, I think that we did a great job, man. Again, I tell you, thank you so much for this, man. This was great. From the bottom of my heart, man. I know a lot of people are gonna watch this, and you're gonna do great, man. Even after me, you're gonna do great, man. Just keep doing what you're doing. Blessings upon you, man.
Yeah. Well, thanks, Austin. I really love this conversation. So I appreciate you taking the time, sharing your experiences. And if this conversation resonated with you listening, make sure that you share it with people that you believe that they can. And if anybody wants to get in touch with Austin, make sure that you connect with him on LinkedIn, follow his Instagram, or also reach out to him at Mr. C's as well. But thank you, everybody, for tuning in.
Later, guys. God bless.